Okay, I know, this isn't a Twitter thing, but please bear with me for a moment. We're going to be doing something a little different here. What I learned in history class. For context, if you missed that community post, it's the end of winter quarter, and the final project for my history class is to go into detail of what I've learned using different methods of skills. You're able to present this project in any form. A short graphic novel, a piece of art, a quilt, or a 10-minute long podcast or video. Obviously, I went with the video. It was either this or an 8 to 10 page essay. Not that I'm lazy at writing or anything, I just see making a video being more beneficial. I get the 250 points, and I get some viewership for my YouTube channel. Win-win. I'm Jonathan Censored, and here's what I learned in my college history class for winter quarter. Please go easy on me in the comments. Let's start off with the Romantic era, a period of time that I straight up did not know was a thing. Taking place between 1750 to 1850, Romanticism was an artistic and literary movement to express love, freedom, emotion, revolution, and beauty. The Romantic era was also heavily religious, with Christianity seeing the rise of the Industrial Revolution as being an attack on nature and the human personality. Romanticism has made its way into numerous forms of art. For starters, architecture. Some of the most iconic landmarks in the Northern Hemisphere was designed in accordance to the Romantic era. The Washington National Cathedral, the Palace of Westminster, or the British Parliament, and my mom's favorite castle, Neuschwanstein. And that's of course not scratching half of the examples. The feel of Romanticism was also expressed in landscaping or gardening. While most gardens were primed and designed to simplicity, English gardens went all out, like if you gave a kid a coloring book and they won't color in the lines. Take that, homeowners association. Outside of architecture and gardens, the Romantic era was also responsible for many pieces of art and most notable artists in history. Authors and poets, Edgar Allan Poe, Victor Hugo, and Mary Shelley. Music, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and Felix Mendelssohn. Case in point, there was a lot that came from an era that I didn't know existed. We also discussed about the Russian Revolution during one of the lectures. We all know the event. While many other countries had switched from a monarchy to a government prior to World War I, Russia had just begun its modernizing process, which left many factory workers and the overall population unhappy. Tsar Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia, thought that the best way to fix the issue was a short war, which, obviously didn't fix things. His wife Alexandria was left in charge meanwhile and was under Rasputin's influence. With soldiers dead and a food and supply shortage growing, protesters expressed their outrage and forced the Romanovs to step down, officially ending the monarchy. In 1917, after partnering with the Soviet, Lenin and the Bolsheviks would execute Tsar Nicholas and his family. Now, I did, of course, know about the Russian Revolution before, almost every detail of it, but after revisiting this topic, this class made me realize how inaccurate Don Bluth's Anastasia actually was. I saw it the summer of last year, and I missed most of the historic inaccuracies because I was digging the songs and art style. Inaccuracies include Rasputin being an actual sorcerer and cursing the Romanovs, Tsar Nicholas being painted a saint and Russia not being under poverty, and of course, Princess Anastasia surviving her execution. Obviously, they toned things down because this movie was for kids, and they haven't confirmed Anastasia's remains to be hers until 2007. But after this quarter, I realized that the Don Bluth team could have easily taken this film in a more historically accurate direction, while also not scarring children. From a story writing standpoint, it can be done. Now let's talk about human society and its culture. We'll start off with the 20s, where I finally learned the name of these dresses and hats. Flappers. Yeah, I was never gonna guess that. After the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving women the rights to vote, the clothing style and general behavior of women would change in the 20s. A small number of American women would embrace the flapper image, wearing this in public. It was way more revealing compared to the previous trend of women's fashion, which hid their ankles and necks. Women would also be seen at bars drinking alcoholic beverages that weren't wine, as well as smoking cigarettes. The 20s also saw an increase in entertainment. With the negative after effects of World War I and the ongoing recession, people in the United States wanted to escape reality and have fun, and they got what they wished for with movies. They started with silent films, black and white movies with no voice audio, which definitely would have made TikTok scrollers die from boredom. But fortunately, they moved past the dark phase and introduced talkie films. Walt Disney's cartoons of Mickey Mouse, along with other animation studios, was heavily influenced by the Great Depression and the need to bring optimism to their audience. The United States and Great Britain were also introduced to radio broadcasting, and KDKA being the first officially licensed radio station in 1920. Other stations founded in the 20s that would become big in present day are the National Broadcasting Company and the British Broadcasting Corporation. However, there was a backfire with radio and film, because this allowed political propaganda to sneak its way in. Dictators like Adolf Hitler, an angry little man with a toothbrush mustache, would use the convenience of radio broadcasting to make speeches so that they reach audiences at a wider range. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? At least radio and television prevented Los Angeles from looking like this. Other noteworthy things about the 20s were the new construction techniques making cities more condensed and uniformed, home electronics like telephone installations was doubled, automobiles had become the new flex in status, and nearly every home and business was powered by electricity. Sticking with the subject of society and culture, let's jump straight to the 60s. The days of the clean and proper lifestyle was fading into obscurity. No more stay-at-home moms, and no more children being seen and not heard. But why, you may ask? Why was this no longer the norm? In the 60s, the baby boomer generation was old enough to gather together and start their own rebellion within Western Europe and the United States. There was a big philosophical division between the teens and adults. The adults, particularly those born before or during World War II, were seen as being behind the times. The counterculture, or the hippies, were all about peace and love and against the comfortability of their childhoods. Free sex relationships were normalized, drug use was fairly common, birth rates declined, and divorces increased. But you know what else increased? Technology. Many households back then consumed in-home entertainment like televisions and radios. With household appliances skyrocketing in popularity and being much more affordable, the time women had to stay at home was reduced, allowing them to work outside the house. With all this now in mind, I find it really neat how accurate that 70s show was. Yeah, it wasn't the 60s, but it could be strongly felt in the dialogue, the set dressing, the mannerisms, and the episode subjects. Heck, Donna and Midge had a few episodes to themselves about women's rights, and the most iconic gag in the show was the circle, with the gang smoking marijuana in the foreman's basement. Man, why did Netflix cancel that 90s show? Final topic that I learned was something that was mentioned in the Victorian and Edwardian era lecture. It turns out the horrible trend of women stay at home and the man provides for the family all started here. For whatever reason, my stupid mind must have overlooked something way back when, because I thought this was a social trend that went way before the 19th century. Maybe it did and I'm once again overlooking something, but I don't know. Sometimes I can't even trust myself. Also, for the lecture, my professor added 2 songs from Mary Poppins, Sister Suffragette and The Life I Lead. It's great to know my professor watches peak cinema too. And with that, those are some of the things I learned in my history class. Thank you guys for this opportunity, and if this video blows up, maybe I'll do another one. Who knows? To my classmates and audience, I hope you all have a great spring break. Hit the subscribe button. Au revoir.